Hello and welcome into my studio. Today we are going to be painting this super cute little elephant with flowers. So grab your brushes and your paints and let's go ahead and get this cute little elephant on the canvas. Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to paint a cute little elephant and all we need are 3 brushes, a 1-inch flat, a 1/2-inch flat, and number 4 round. We have primary colors plus black and white and I'm using an 8x10 wrapped canvas. I'm going to have a cup of water to clean my brush. I'm going to put the big brush in the water first. Make sure you have a rag or a paper towel ready to go as well. And get that big brush in the water. Let's go ahead and do our brush strokes for the background, which today we're going to do like a vertical brush stroke. So little up and down brush strokes. Just like so. No big deal. And you want to get a little moisture on there. And then we're going to go ahead and get a fun turquoise color on the background. So I'm going to go ahead and use a lot of white and a little bit of blue and a touch of yellow. It's going to give us a fun turquoise color. Now I'm going to go to the corners and like along the bottom. Notice how I can just sort of swoop it up part way, not going all the way up. Maybe I add a little more blue and pull it from the top. So try to change your shades a little bit as you fill it in. And then through the middle, I want it lighter. So usually I like it a little darker around the edges and then a little lighter through the middle. I'm gonna add a little more blue in the bottom corners too. So see how I just kind of add a little more blue. It makes it look a little darker. And then if your paint isn't blending well, sometimes I'll just dip the tip of the brush in the water and then mix it into my white because I want my middle to look a little brighter and I do want the blending to occur, so adding a little water into your white will help the other colors blend together. And then just pull from the middle and go up and down. You can touch the colors on the top and bottom, so notice I can pull the brush all the way through or mostly through and it will still remain a little lighter through the middle. Now again, I'm just adding white, pulling it through, and I don't want to overblend though because I do want to keep some of that streakiness because it looks kind of fun. But you can pull it through to smooth it out just a bit. And just grabbing up more white as I need it. The goal here is just to cover the whole canvas. And again, I'm just adding a little more white. And then pulling it from the middle and then all the way through to help with blending. Now we have a perfectly fun background. Now I'm going to put the big brush in the water, bristles down, let that mellow out for a second. And then you have a couple options here. You can either step away for a moment, press pause, step away, and come back when it's dry. Usually maybe 10 to 20 minutes if you just let it air dry. But if you want it a little quicker, you can use a normal hair dryer to blow dry the canvas and it will go really quick. So that's what I'm going to do just for the sake of continuing with the recording. But again, you can pause, let it do natural or use a blow dryer. All right, so mine's dry. You'll know it's dry when it looks kind of not so shiny anymore. And then you can also do a little check by just tapping a clean finger and making sure no paint comes up on your finger to make sure it's dry. So once it's dry, we're going to go ahead and use the medium square brush and we're going to make our base color for a little baby elephant, which is going to be gray. So I'm just going to take some white and black. And I'm mostly white. I want it to be kind of light or like medium to light. And then if you want to give it some, a little bit more dimension, which I do, I'm going to add a little bit of blue to it because I love the blue-gray kind of color. I think it looks really pretty to have a hint of blue in there. You don't have to. You could just do regular gray, but whatever you want to do. Now I'm going to go ahead and come to the middle. So find the middle of your canvas. There's the middle. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and the elephant feet are going to be at the bottom and then the head and the nose is going to be towards the middle. So I'm going to do the head first, and all you really need to do is know that this is going to be where the trunk starts to come down here. So the face is going to go up like a V. So all we're going to do is make a V shape that comes up just a little ways, don't go too far. And then we're gonna come straight up vertically. So it's like V and then straight up vertically, like that. Okay. And then we're gonna go ahead and do our ears, which are gonna pull from this right when the V starts to go up straight. So we pulled out and then go up. So the ears are gonna come from right there. And I'm gonna wiggle and pull down a little bit. It's like that. And then it's gonna come up and wiggle and pull. So you're coming down and then you're going back up and then you're gonna just bring it back to the head. Like that. And you can make them, you know, try to make them similar size here. I kind of made this one a little bigger, so I'm just gonna pull this one out a little more. And then for our body, that's gonna come out right where the ears are. So you have your ears, just maybe like part way in your ears. We're gonna pull the body out from there. We're gonna pull down just a bit, coming down in just a bit. And then you're gonna pull across. Okay. And then right in the middle, we're gonna go ahead and pull it back up like a V. Okay. And then we're gonna do the nose. The nose is gonna come out from the middle and it's gonna come right through over the legs and curl up like this. And then what you're gonna do is just build that into the face. So you wanna make it a little thicker and then it narrows out a bit as it comes to the tip of the nose. But it should be thicker in the middle. I'm just gonna mix up a little bit more of that gray blue. And you can always adjust the shape a little bit. So see, I can kind of like widen the face or any of these things, and you're just gonna color it in, color the face in. And then maybe I have the ears come out a little bit more here, coming down more. Notice I'm just coloring the face and the ears in. We're gonna color a different color for the legs. It'll come together. It's gonna look, it always looks kind of awkward at first, but then we'll pull it together. And then I'm gonna make one more little line here. I'm gonna make it a little darker. So I'm gonna add a little more black and blue. See how that gets a little darker? And then when we have this thing going out right here, what I'm gonna do is make another parallel line that comes a little closer in. Like that. On both sides. And then what we can do is we're gonna color in this a little bit darker here. Put a little shadow coming like this, like on a diagonal. And on the right side, it's gonna kind of come down a little further. And then on the left here, I'm just gonna kind of color in up here, but keep it up a little higher. You see I'm going around the trunk. And then you can go back into your lighter shade to fill in the bottom of the feet. And then you can always go back into your darker shade to fill in any other space. So like, for example, I'm gonna come back in just a little bit here and fill in between the feet, like this little V thing right here under, and this is just helping the trunk stand out a bit. And we'll do some outlining as well too. So just wherever you need to get more shadow in. And again, the shadow is just more blue and black in that gray mix. So it's the same mix. You're just using more blue and black. And then you can always adjust. So by adding more white, you're creating that lighter shade. And you can have those ears coming out a little more predominantly. You can have that face coming out a little bit more, you know, whatever you want to do. It's your painting. And then coloring the edges of the back here. All right, so now we have like the basic shape for the elephant, and we're gonna add some flowers to the head because we want to make it really springtime and fun. So I'm going to clean the brush and we're going to do some florals on the top. So we're going to do some pink is fun. So I'm going to do red and white. And we're just going to make some big circles up here and color them in. Maybe I have some that have a little more red. Some circles can be bigger, some can be smaller. So see, I can make like a smaller circle. And then I can make like a bigger one that's lighter, maybe even add a little bit of yellow to it. So we can change the shade. Or you can have like little daisy type things. So you can make little poles that come out instead of a circle. You can make like a little rays of brush strokes coming out. Really, you can change the shape however you like. That's what I love about painting. You can have some that are more like white or really, really light. So fun. Little circles or little bursts of brush strokes. So much fun. I'm gonna clean the brush, and then maybe you add some that are like more purplish, so blue and red. I'm gonna make purple, and you can add a little bit of white. And then maybe I add some of that over here. Again, I can just do like little lines that pull together to create this shape. Or again, little circles are fun. Whatever really feels fun for you to do, give it a try. Making these ones a little smaller. And it'll come together. I mean, everything always looks so flat and kind of sad at first, so just go with it. Now we're gonna go ahead and use the smaller brush. I'm gonna do some shadow stuff down at the bottom. So I'm gonna take some blue with a little bit of yellow. And I'm gonna go on the outer edges of the elephant to just give it some definition at the bottom. So see how I can go on the outer edge here and just almost like an outline. And then we can go under the feet and do some horizontal zigzag wiggles. This is just going to create a little bit of a shadow for under the elephant. And if you need to tone it down at all, just use a little bit of white. And it will kind of blend it and tone it around the edges of that wiggle. And again, I can take some of that white and kind of smooth out my outline a little bit on the sides too. So if it gets, you just want to create a little bit of definition against the background down here. So it doesn't get totally lost in the background. And then I just clean my brush for the sake of kind of reshaping it, but I'm still using the same color, blue, with a little bit of yellow. And then I'm going to create some leaves, which are just little brush strokes using the tip of the brush. And then I usually just pull them back towards the little bunch of flowers. So you can do that around the top. Might go onto the head a little bit here. I'm not going too crazy with it though. But it gives it like a little ring of that color around. And again, I can always darken down here. You can really play around. And then I'm going to clean the brush. And then I'm going to add some more detail to the elephant. So let's create some more shading. I'm going to go ahead and use that blue and black to create some more shading. Make sure you have a decent amount of blue. And then what I'm going to do is outline the face. And the trunk. And the ears. Really lightly. And then you can go and do like some outlining on the legs where that little V shape is. I can make some little toenails by making little rainbows that go across, like maybe just do like 2 or 3. I'm gonna do 3, but if you have less space, you could just do 2, or it doesn't really matter. I'm just outlining my shapes that we've already put, and you can darken the shadow under the ears here if you want a bit. Be careful not to make it too crazy. And you can always use a little bit of that white to soften it. I'm just dabbing in the shadow there. Really easy. And then we want to do some eyes. So we're going to go ahead. I want a lot of blue in this, but it could still have a little bit of black. But I want a lot of blue for this first layer. And we're going to go right in the middle here. Like, so if you come down from the top of the head just a little ways, we're going to go over to either side and you're going to make a little arc. I'm going to go directly across on this side too. I'm going to go pretty far over to the edge. I'm almost all the way over to the edge of the face. And I'm just making a little rainbow arc. And then you're going to pull in a little smiley face underneath. Kind of like that. And then we can even pull some like little eyelashes coming out of the corners on the far sides coming out. You can have like a little underline under those to create, and a little bit on the top to create just some expression. And then again, using a lot of blue is going to help create a softer shadow. So I can put like a softer shadow like on the underside of the trunk here. You can make some little horizontal lines coming across the nose like this. We'll see how we can go across like that. And create some like texture. And we can also pull from the ears where the face and the ear come together and pull out. And I have a lot of blue. It's just a touch of black, not too much at all. That's kind of fun. Now I can add a little more black, or a lot more black in there, and I can just do a little dab in the center of the eyes towards the top to create a pupil. And I want to do that kind of big. But I want to be able to see that blue, the difference in the eyes with the blue. So make sure you have that. Now I'm cleaning the brush and I'm going to do some layers on the top here before we go in and add more details to the elephant. Now I'm going to go ahead and continue with that red and white, kind of those kind of colors, but just add some more layers. So for example, I can just add some spirals onto my circle shapes with a different shade. So see how my first shade is a little darker, and I'll just take a little bit of a lighter shade and spiral some circular brush strokes towards the top. Not too many, don't overdo it. And then maybe I have a little more yellow mixed in here and I can do another little daisy type brush stroke coming around. Have some circles. I'm just adding more yellow. I love the yellow against this color. And then when you go to do the purple, you might want to clean off the yellows and those kinds of colors. And we can go in with some maybe more red and more white mixed into the purple. So it still has a touch of blue. And then that'll create a lighter shade of purple where you can go in and add little brush strokes to your purple flowers. And I can take that light purple and I can use it as a highlight across the nose, like those horizontal brush strokes, and in the ears. So this is where we get to have fun and we can start spreading some of the colors from the flowers onto highlighting the elephant. That's so much fun. Love it. And then I can even use that to color the toenails. Again, this is mostly red and white with a touch of blue to create a little bit of a light violet pink. Super cute. And you can even make some little cheeky marks here on the cheeks, like maybe it's like little blush. Then I'm going to clean it and we're going to go back in and add some more to the leaves. So we have our green, we have the blue and the yellow, and I use mostly blue in the beginning to create a darker shade of green, but now I'm going to add a little more yellow and even a touch of white. And this is going to create a lighter shade of green. I'm just using that clean small round brush, and then just add a little dab on top, trying to cover the first layer all the way. Then you can even have some little dots kind of pulling out into the background around the edges with this lighter color. You know, it's fun to be playful here. And then we want to do some highlight. Make sure you have plenty of white on your palette. And you have to grab a little bit more. I'm going to clean the small round brush. I'm going to take the white, the pure white, and I'm going to do little husks. So those are going to come out right behind the, like in between the ears and the trunk. And you're just going to make little pointy tusks like that. So it comes to a point, and then it gets a little thicker at the face. And then you kind of want to create a little bit of a highlight pulling onto the face too, and we'll create some shadows around that as well. So see, I can pull some highlights, and then you can do some horizontal highlighting, pulling around the face and just on the trunk and on the ears. So especially at the edges of the ears, I want to do like some white and just wiggle it around the edges. It looks kind of fun. Painting is so abstract too, so I really love just wiggling the brush and seeing what happens, but you know, you can be a little more specific if that stresses you out. But try not to be that stressed about. I mean, it's just a painting. So, but I know some people get a little like, "Oh my gosh, like don't worry about it. Just relax." Now again, maybe I take some like light blue. This is kind of a fun color to use as a highlight because of the blue gray. So I can pull on the top of the feet, just add a little bit of highlight colors. You can do it to the trunk. So see, I'm just layering multiple colors. I can go to the edges of the ears, maybe paint over some of those white highlights just a little bit to tone them down with the light blue. Maybe I go on the where the husks are. So just imagine that the husks are like going up onto the face, and we're going to create a little bit of a shadow there too. So let's go back and do a little bit more shadow with the blue gray. So black and blue, but again, I want it to be kind of soft. So I'm doing mostly blue. And we can go ahead and go where the tusks are and then just paint like a little bit of a horizontal or kind of diagonal line that pulls onto the face. Again, you're just going to imagine that that husk is continuing onto the face. Maybe even adding some more shadows kind of around the outline. And you can use that blue-gray under to create a little bit more of a shadow under the elephant going horizontally. You don't have to, but it's kind of fun to do that. Maybe I go around the toenails again to just create some. I really like to just spread colors around. So if you have it in one place, it's good to spread the love a little bit so that it doesn't feel awkward, like out of place. But I like want to outline these little husks, like where the husk comes onto the face. Just kind of outlining it. And then feel free to tone it down with either some light blue or pure white. So see, I can come into that light blue again. And then maybe I'm toning this down a bit by coloring in. And you can even use the light blue as a kind of a shadow color on the husk. So on the underside of the husk, you can have a little line that's like more of a blue color rather than just having the whole tusk be solid white. The underside of the tusk, which would be towards the inside of the face, could have like a little bit of a shadow. So fun. And then if that gets too crazy, you can always come back in with some more white or use that dark blue gray or black even to re-outline things and adjust. So I just like to pop back and forth my shadows and highlights for a little bit. I'm going to go in with some dark purple into my flowers. So blue and red with no white mixed in is going to give you a pretty nice dark color. And then I'm going to go and make little dots on the inside of some of my circular flowers. Maybe putting a little bit of a shadow towards the underside of some of these purple flowers here. So you're just kind of underlining them. And then maybe I have, if you use more red, it's going to be a little bit of a less dark, and I can use that on the inside of this daisy one. So you can play around. We do want some shadows. You can even add some of this purple shadow under the flowers onto the head to create a little bit of a shadow look. Really play around there. And then before you go in and do the highlights and kind of finish it up here, I just want to remind you that you can, add any more of the colors to the face. You can come in with some more gray or blue-gray like that we started with for the elephant. And if any of these lines need to be thinned out or toned down, you can just paint that original color over. Just layering some gray on the husk here. Elephants are kind of like wrinkly little creatures, so all these little layers of brush strokes will make it look more interesting. All right, and then last but not least, we're going to do just a couple highlights, and then we're going to call it done. So I'm going to take the brush nice and clean and dry, a round brush, and then just get a dab of white on there, and we're going to put some little shines in the eye. I usually do one big dot towards the top of the pupil and one little one off to the side below. And then you can do some little dots inside the flowers, the little dark parts. Maybe some of those little dots are like light blue, but add some little white before you do any other colors. Make sure you get as much white as you want. So that means adding like a little bit of white to the tops of the flowers. And then again, you could use light blue or light pink as a highlight color. So don't feel like it has to be all white. You could use different colors as highlights. So maybe I do some light blue in the middle of this one. And then for simplicity's sake, I'm going to call it done. Now, again, you can layer more colors and just go crazy with it. But I think that this is like enough to get the idea, and then you can embellish as much as you like. Make sure to sign your painting if you are done with it. You can also make sure to leave a comment. Just let me know how you enjoyed it or if you have any questions. And I hope you had fun painting this cute little elephant with the little flower crown. And thank you so much for painting with me. Thanks for watching, and have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye.